When I found this letter under the floorboards, I had no idea my life would change forever. The paper had yellowed, the ink had faded, but every word still tore at my heart. It was my grandfather James's handwriting, written on a Korean winter night in 1951, one night before his death. That October morning, New England's autumn colors were seeping through our house windows. My wife Sandra and I had decided to renovate the house inherited from my grandmother Margaret. The house hadn't been touched in 60 years, the walls were the same cream color, the floors the same brown parquet, even the framed photographs stood in their original places. It was as if time had stopped in this house. The workers had started early in the morning. When they removed the old parquet boards in the bedroom, the smell of damp earth underneath revealed the house's age. I was making coffee in the kitchen when one of the workers, Mike, called out, "Mr. Johnson, come here. There's something here." When I rushed to the bedroom, Mike was holding a rusty metal box. It bore the marks of years, rust stains on its edges. The box was so heavy that my hands trembled as I lifted it. It seemed to carry not just metal, but the weight of years. "It was buried under the floorboards," said Mike, brushing off dust particles. "Looks at least 50 years old." I carried the box to the living room. Sandra and I carefully opened it together. Inside, wrapped in wax paper, were a faded photograph, a fountain pen with frozen ink, and a carefully folded letter. On the letter's envelope, in faded ink, was written, "To my son David, James Harrison, 1951. The photograph was of my grandfather James, in his army uniform, young, handsome, with hope mixed with worry in his eyes. I had never known him, I only knew him from framed photographs on the wall. My father David had told me he died in the Korean War, that he fought heroically, but never went into details. It was as if the pain was still too fresh. When I opened the letter with trembling hands, my grandfather's handwriting filled my eyes. The writing started neat, then became increasingly shaky. It was as if the cold had paralyzed his hands. "My dear son David. As I write these lines, my hands are freezing. This is 2,000 meters high in the Korean mountains, inside our tent. The snow is so heavy I can't see 2 meters ahead. The wind is battering our tent so hard, it's like giant hands trying to uproot us from the ground. My buddies from Charlie Company are trying to sleep, but I can't sleep. Because I must write this letter. Tomorrow morning we'll attack Hill 1081, and I have a feeling. Maybe this is my last chance to tell you the things I need to say. David, have I ever told you how much I love you? Men don't say such things, I know. My father Harold never told me either. He was a tough man, became even tougher after the 1929 depression. Men don't cry, men don't show their feelings, he used to say. I taught you the same things. But now, in this freezing cold, in my loneliness, after seeing my friends freeze to death, I understand, the most beautiful thing a father can tell his son is this: I'm proud of you, David. Every day, with every breath I take. Do you remember that summer when you were 6, when I tried to teach you to ride a bicycle? You were crying, saying, I can't do it, Dad, I'm too scared. Your knees were bleeding, your eyes were teary. I lost my patience and shouted, men don't cry like that. You looked at me with that little face, with disappointed eyes. That night when I put you to bed, I saw that look in your eyes. I never forgave myself for that. Never. The next day when I came home from work, while you were away, I went to the garden. I repaired that bicycle from top to bottom. I adjusted the brakes, oiled the chain, adjusted the seat for you, inflated the tires. I even attached a little bell. When I came home that evening, I saw you in the garden, alone, doing circles with that red bicycle. Proud, happy, free. At that moment I understood that sometimes the best thing a father can do is watch from behind. Support silently. I moved to the second page of the letter. The ink color had changed, the writing was even more shaky. It seemed to have been written at a different time, perhaps hours later. The snow has stopped. It's now 2 o'clock at night. Tommy and Frank are sleeping, but Ben Johnson is on watch. I can't sleep, David. Not because of tomorrow. Because of my regrets. Because I didn't spend more time with you, didn't listen more, didn't criticize less. Do you remember that summer when you graduated high school? You wanted to go to the Connecticut School of Art, I said Massachusetts Institute of Technology. You can't make money with art, David. To survive in this world, you need to be practical. I had shouted. You didn't come out of your room that evening. Your mother Margaret was angry with me. You're crushing your son's dreams, James, she said. But I didn't know you were secretly collecting the pictures you drew. Your mother later showed them to me, each one was magnificent. Especially that picture you drew of our house. It was as if you hadn't drawn the house, but love itself. The silhouette of your mother in the kitchen, the neighbor children playing in the garden, the moment when the evening sun hit the window. You had painted not just the building, but the life in that house. I wish I could have said then, son, do whatever you love. I'm behind you in every situation. I wish I had supported your dreams, not my own fears. Because now I understand, my fears were mine, not from your incapacity. Here, at the front, there are very young kids, David. 18, 19 years old. Some your age. Watching them, I think of you. And I realized, a father's job is not to make his son walk his own path, but to help him find his own way. Not to hold his hand and make him walk, but to stand behind him and give confidence. In the third page of the letter, the writing had deteriorated significantly. There were ink stains, as if they had dripped onto the paper drop by drop. David, morning is coming. There's light in the east. The sun looks magnificent in this snow whiteness, as if the world is being reborn. Strange, isn't it? Even in the midst of war, there is beauty. Even beside death, there is life. Just like in our lives. Last night I dreamed of your mother. She was wearing that blue dress, her hair flowing over her shoulders. She was smiling at me, just like on our wedding day. Don't worry, James, she said in my dream. David will become a strong man. You laid good foundations for him. When I woke up, my pillow was wet. Here, even among men, I had cried. Tell Margaret how much I love her. Tell her she was the most beautiful gift of my life, my greatest fortune. Every day I spent with her, these memories that warm me on this cold night. The songs she hummed while making coffee in the kitchen, watering flowers in the garden, the evenings we listened to the radio together. And you, David. You are my greatest masterpiece. I'm not perfect, I know. I was too harsh, hugged too little, said, I love you, too rarely. But I loved you with every breath. Every day going to work, I thought, this is for this child. Every evening coming home, I felt joy thinking I'll spend time with my son. When I reached the final part of the letter, the words were almost illegible. If you're reading this letter, it means I couldn't come home. Don't be sad, son. Death is not the end of life. It's the continuation of love. When you breathe, I will breathe too. When you laugh, I will smile too. When you get married, I will be filled with joy too. When you hug your children, my arms will be around them too. The last thing I want to tell you is this, don't try to be a perfect father. I wasn't either. Nobody is. But try to be a loving father. Be an understanding father. Be a listening father. This is enough, David, this is everything. Love your mother very much. She is my most beautiful memory, your greatest fortune. Listen to what she says, she's much smarter than me. And be yourself, David. Just be yourself. Whether you become an artist or an engineer. What matters is that you're happy. One more thing. In the basement of the house, behind the coal storage, there's a trunk. Inside it are all the things that belong to you. Childhood toys, school reports, your first letter, your first drawing. And all your art notebooks. Yes, I didn't throw them away. I kept them all. Because they are your pieces, my treasures. Maybe one day you'll start drawing again. Now I'm going, son. But actually, I'm never leaving. In the sun that rises every day, in the stars in the night sky, in every spring bloom, in every child's laughter, you'll encounter me. Your father who loves you forever. James Harrison. December 25, 1951, Korea. Morning 5:30. Hill 1081 base. Note, this pen no longer writes. The ink is frozen. Just like my fingers. But my heart is still warm. With your love, with your mother's affection, with the dream of my future grandchildren. When I finished the letter, my cheeks were wet. Sandra held my hand, she was crying too. The room seemed quieter, more sacred. I had never known my grandfather James, he had died 10 years before I was born. But now I knew him. Not just from his words, but from every gesture, every look, every bit of love my father David had shown me. Call your father, Sandra said in a soft voice. He needs to know this. But first I had to go to the basement. Behind the coal storage, there really was an old trunk. Heavy, covered in dust, its metal lid rusted. Inside I discovered a treasure, my father's childhood toys, school report cards, first stories written in broken pencil, and art notebooks. The notebooks had been lost under the dust, but the drawings on the pages were still vivid. Landscapes, portraits, abstract designs. Each was masterfully drawn. My father really was talented. In these notebooks was a David I had never seen, free, creative, imaginative. That evening I called my father. His voice sounded tired, old on the phone. He was 78 years old now. Dad, I said, I found grandfather's letter. There was a long silence. I could hear him breathing. Which letter, son? He asked, his voice trembling. His last letter to you. From Korea. He wrote it the night before he died. This time the silence lasted longer. Then, with a broken voice, I always knew all these years, he said. I always felt that he wanted to tell me something. The last time we met, before he went to the army, there was something different in his eyes. It was as if he wanted to apologize but couldn't find the words. Dad, I also found the art notebooks. This time the silence lasted much longer. I could hear him crying on the phone, a 78-year-old man, crying 70 years later, feeling his father's love. Why did you never mention it? I asked gently. Because, my father said, sobbing, I repeated his mistakes too. I told you to be practical too, didn't I? I supported your engineering studies because it seemed safe. Just as I sacrificed my own dreams, there were moments when I conflicted with yours too. But you always supported me, Dad. I studied engineering, but you always supported me continuing photography as a hobby. Yes, but I learned this late, Michael. When I reached your age, I understood what my father really wanted to tell me. That night, my father and I talked until morning. For the first time, the stories of 3 generations came together. Grandfather's regrets, father's struggles, my understandings. As we talked, I realized that each generation tries to learn from the previous one's mistakes, but at the same time makes new mistakes. This was a cycle, but also an evolution. The following week, my father came to our house from Boston. He couldn't drive anymore, he had come by bus. He had a bag with him, inside were paints, brushes, and a blank canvas. Is it too late to become an artist at 78? He asked, with childlike excitement in his eyes. Or at least to start drawing again. No, Dad, I said, my eyes filling with tears, it's never too late for anything. Grandfather would have said the same. We started painting together. Sandra brought us tea, my little son Alex watched with curiosity. While my father tried to remember his old technique, I helped him. He was painting his suppressed dreams, I was painting my journey of understanding fathers. Hours passed. The shadows of the trees in the garden lengthened. My father put down his brush and turned to me. "Michael," he said, his eyes sparkling, "have I ever told you how proud I am of you? You were both practical and followed your passions. You managed to achieve this balance." I smiled. "You just told me, Dad. And that's enough. That's everything." That evening, we put grandfather's letter in a special frame. But this wasn't just a letter, it was a legacy of love passed down from generation to generation. Beyond words, it was a bridge extending from heart to heart. Now, when I look at my own son Alex, I see my grandfather James's eyes. My father David's patience, my own learnings. And I understand that fatherhood isn't about being perfect. It's about loving, learning, taking lessons from mistakes, and most importantly, finding the courage to express your love. On snowy nights, I think of my grandfather. That freezing Korean night, on the threshold of death, with frozen fingers, his heart full of love as he wrote his last words. And I understand that real inheritance isn't money or property. Real inheritance is the love, understanding, and courage that one generation leaves to another. This letter didn't just unite 3 generations. It became a beginning for the 4th generation too. Because Alex now asks his grandfather, "Why don't you paint, Grandpa?" And my father David now answers without hesitation, "Because I'm going to become a master, my grandson." Love is stronger than death. And sometimes, the strongest words are written on snowy nights, with frozen fingers, on the threshold of death. These words are passed down from generation to generation, and with each passing, they become a little stronger.